Hi and welcome to another narration, presented by yours truly, Cryptids Roost. Please be so kind as to throat punch the like button and smack the arse of the subscription button as well. And remember to chokehold that notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. Quick note. According to my analytics, only 21% of my subscribers have turned on the all notifications for the channel. With that in mind, only 12% of my subscribers have turned on the all notifications and have enabled YouTube notifications for the channel. So if you haven't been receiving any notifications, this may be why. So be sure to double check your notification bell settings. I would like to reach out and say a huge thank you to those of you who have been supporting Cryptids Roost financially with your sponsorship. We pray that good Lord replenishes you abundantly, and to those of you who will, later on. We pray that good Lord bless you as you do so. And also a huge thank you to everyone for always supporting the channel with your likes, comments and shares as well. It is all very much appreciated. God bless you all. During every video, you should see an info card pop up at some point during the duration of the video. Each of these info cards, top right corner, will direct you to the playlist for the author of this story, and will show you other stories from this same author that you may also enjoy. Also, be sure to check out the end screen at the end of the video. This will also direct you to two videos. One will be the most recent video uploaded, and the other will be a random video from within my catalogue of stories that I have already narrated. So be sure to check those out. And why not hashtag Cryptids Roost in your comments? So grab your coffee, sit back and enjoy the show. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not. I'm the new nanny at Lunamorte Manor. My boss is a real bloodsucker. This awesome story is written by JGrupe, a wonderful author over on Reddit. And if you'd like to read more of his works, the Reddit link to his profile will be below. And don't forget to check out his new book. The links for it will also be below. Prologue. Lunamorte Manor. The towering castle stood before me, vast and ancient, gargantuan and looming. Dark clouds swirling above threatened rain, and I heard thunder crash in the distance as the ocean seemed to swell and heave around me on all sides. Whitecaps appeared on water that had been still and serene just minutes before. It had darkened as well to match the sky, and now looked inky black as I watched the ferry disappear into the distance. Made of grey stone, the place had a medieval look that reminded me of a fortress from a horror movie, with turrets and a winding stone staircase leading up to a wide porch at the entrance. The impending storm reinforced the illusion that this was the home of some monster or mad scientist, and I heard thunder clap again, closer this time. I trudged up the stairs, my arms already tired from the weight of suitcases packed full, my legs heavy with fatigue. It had been a long journey to get there. Once I got to the top of the stairs, the elevated view showed how alone I truly was. Nothing but ocean on all sides. The waves and whitecaps now looking tiny in the distance down below. What if nobody was home? My heart began to pound as rain started to patter and then pour from the sky in fat drops, and thunder boomed, now directly overhead, causing me to jump and let out a startled cry of terror. I was about to announce my arrival, my hand reaching up the large black cast iron knocker, moulded to look like a bat, when the tall wooden slat doors opened up before me. There was no one behind them, I saw, as I entered the vast and echoing entrance chamber. I assumed they had observed my arrival on hidden security cameras, because I hadn't seen anyone since getting off the ferry. Suits of armour, giant Renaissance paintings, Ancient artifacts and sculptures adorned the grand foyer, and yet everything was dusty and cloaked in shadow. Swords were mounted on the walls in places, and a black grand piano sat in one corner, looking neglected and in disrepair. The black and white checkerboard floors beneath my feet were similarly dirty and in need of a polish. "Hello? Anybody home?" It had been a long ferry ride to the island, and the boat had been lacking a washroom. I was getting desperate and wanted to get the pleasantries with my new boss over with as quickly as possible, so that I could visit the facilities, should we say. How do you ask someone you just met if you can go number 2 in their bathroom? This had the potential for awkwardness, I thought to myself, and my stomach churned and rumbled loudly as if to agree.
"Good evening."
A tall, gaunt man with pale skin and black hair appeared in the shadows on the balcony above, as if from nowhere. His voice was deep and accented, though where the accent was from I could not place. Eastern Europe, perhaps, but more specifically than that I could not say. The shadows absorbed his face before I could get more than the briefest of glimpses. I saw him in the darkness to my right a moment later. He had gotten there much faster than was humanly possible. This caused me to recoil and let out a slightly shrill cry for the second time in less than a minute.
"My apologies, my dear, if I frightened you."
He stepped out of the shadows and began to walk towards me, taking slow, deliberate steps. His hands were behind his back, and when I looked into his eyes I saw no light there, no glimmer of reflection to indicate humanity, only a dull black that absorbed all light and drew me in like a moth to the flame.
"I trust that your journey was... Wait a minute.
He came closer to inspect me.
You're a guy. I was expecting a woman."
I'm sorry, a what?
"A woman. You are a man."
I looked down at myself and shrugged. Last time I checked.
"You are a man and a nanny? You are the new nanny?"
Haha, yeah, I get that a lot. I've heard all the jokes. People call me a manny sometimes, but it's all good. Hey, do you mind if I use your washroom?
No, this will not do at all. I will have to call that damn agency again. I'm sorry, but this isn't going to work out.
Suddenly, from the shadows to my right, 2 young girls seemed to float towards me, their legs not moving and their feet appearing not to touch the ground. Their skin was pale and they were wearing matching black dresses, their hair done up in pigtails. "Daddy, Daddy, is this our new nanny? What's his name, Daddy? Is he a human, Daddy? Can we give him a tour? Can we?" They were twins, I quickly realised, and they appeared malnourished, judging by their red eyes with dark bags under them. They were pale and extremely thin as well.
"I'm sorry, girls, there's been some mistake. We'll have to wait a few more days for a new nanny to come. This man was just about to leave."
"But why, Daddy? What's wrong with him?" The 2 of them began to stamp their feet on the dirt floor, sending dust motes into the air. This caused my throat and sinuses to become irritated and I began to cough. The coughing fit which resulted had the unfortunate effect of causing me to loudly pass wind in front of my new boss and his 2 daughters. I couldn't help it, it just slipped out. It was a real squeaker too. This caused the twins to absolutely lose their minds. They thought it was hysterical for some reason that I had just farted within moments of arriving. I told you, I really needed to use the bathroom. Sorry about that." "He's funny, Daddy. Can we keep him? Please?" The man looked annoyed. He huffed and glared daggers at me, but then relented. It was obvious who ran the show around there.
All right. We will let him stay on a trial basis.
He lowered his voice.
You really should have told me you weren't a lady before you came. Highly unprofessional.
Sorry?
I suppose it is a bit of a unisex name though, isn't it, Jordan? I think I should have seen this one coming.
It's Jordan, actually. But yeah, I've met a few ladies with that name, I guess. Anyways, I'm glad you're willing to give me a shot. I really need this job, I have to be honest.
Right, sure. Tough times and all that. Okay, follow me. I'll show you to your room.
He muttered something under his breath and hurried away as I tried to keep up. Strangely, his shadows took a second or two longer to exit the room, as if they had a life of their own and were simply mimicking his movements. They danced and meandered on the walls and ceilings, procrastinating leaving until he was well down the hallway. Actually, if you could point me in the direction of a bathroom...
This way, Mr. Grupe. Hurry up now. Don't delay. We haven't got all day.
Right, okay, coming. I hurried after him, clenching my sphincter. We arrived at a door on the upper level and he opened it and shoved me inside.
This will be your quarters for the foreseeable future. I'll let you get settled.
But I really need to... He slammed the door shut and I heard it lock from the outside. Shit! The next few hours passed slowly. Eventually I stopped sweating and trembling and the terrible feeling like gerbils trying to claw their way out of my belly went away. I really need to stop eating vending machine chili. A new concern began to replace that feeling and I realised my body was probably switching out of the whole rest and digest portion of subconscious autonomic functioning and was now fully engaged in fight or flight. Essentially my body had decided that whatever gastrointestinal issues I was having, they were nothing compared to the imminent probability of death, at least for the time being. This internal decision was likely made without my conscious knowledge after hearing the distant cries and wails and blood-curdling shrieks of help from somewhere deep within the manor. They seemed to come from below, and that could be heard through the window sporadically as I waited. A few of them were cut short, making me wonder what had happened to cause them to cease mid-scream. Such an interruption is disturbing and unnatural. If you ever hear it, you'll know what I mean, but it's probably better if you don't. The man came back to the door and knocked briskly twice before entering.
What have you been doing in here? You haven't unpacked any of your clothes. Are you going to be wearing that to dinner? Really? You didn't bring anything more appropriate than a t-shirt that says Tool. Is this your formal wear?
Suddenly I realised where his twin daughters had gotten their habit of rapid-fire questioning. I thought I heard screaming from out the window. My voice was trembling and I tried to control it.
Ah, yes, that was unfortunate. Well, I suppose I should get this out of the way.
Get what out of the way? I backed away from him as he approached, his eyes hypnotic and dark, spiralling like whirlpools at night, filled with stars at their centres.
You have to understand, I can't tell the agency the truth. They would never send another nanny out here if I did.
Oh no, please, I have a family.
Ah, rub it in, why don't you?
He stopped and blinked for a moment, then crossed his arms as if giving himself a hug. He took a breath before continuing.
I guess you figured it out. I'm a single father, all alone out here on this cursed island. I had secretly hoped that one day one of my au pairs would fall in love with me and decide to stay here and be my wife. I know, it's sick. I would be banned from the nanny services if they found out my intentions, but there it is.
What? That's your secret? I mean, that's not cool at all, not one bit. but it's better than what I was expecting." He looked confused.
What did you think?
"But what about the screaming?" He looked at me, one eyebrow raised. My stomach was beginning to do backflips again, now that I had a moment's reprieve from the threat of death. I started to think I was just imagining things. His daughters were just normal kids. They weren't capable of hovering over the ground eerily like phantoms. And this man was just a normal guy. Sure, it had seemed like he had superhuman speed earlier when he came to greet me at the door. And sure, I had just heard blood-curdling screaming off and on for the last 3 hours, but... "Can I please use your bathroom?"
I pour my heart out and that's all you have to say.
He sighed heavily.
All right, come on, this way.
I hurried after him and past pictures on the walls depicting portraits of prior Counts of Lunamorte Manor. Their eyes seemed to twitch and follow me as I walked.
Alas, all of my forefathers are rolling in their graves, sick to their stomachs at the thought of our line being finished. Ah, here we are, the servants' bathroom.
He pointed me into a cobweb-festooned room filled with dingy and tarnished old fixtures, a broken mirror and very little light to speak of. Once he closed the door, it was practically pitch black. But I pressed forward and took a seat on the cold throne that waited for me there. Normally I would feel better after that, but I left the room feeling as if the world was spinning around in circles and sweat pouring off me and was dripping on the floor. My stomach still felt like there was a cinder block sitting inside of me as well. I couldn't remember what had happened to me in there. I had a vague recollection of a severed hand leaking blood and pus that had crawled out of the toilet bowl from between my legs before disappearing into the bathtub. It's hard to do your business after that. But again the memory was barely there, fading like a dream upon waking and leaving only bits and pieces, flashes of imagery and feelings. "What the hell is this place?" I asked Count Lunamorte, feeling utter despair and terror gripping me again. Why had I agreed to this?
This is my ancestral home. Be careful of what you say, for I am not the only one who might hear and take offence.
I was about to apologise when the girls came running down the hallway towards us, again seeming to materialise from nowhere. "Daddy!"
Hello girls, it is time for your classes. Go on up to the study and I will meet you there shortly.
The girls protested momentarily, saying they want to show me around and give me a tour of the castle, but Count Lunamorte would not allow it. I could tell that classroom times were very rigid and inflexible, and somewhat impressed at his structure as a homeschooling parent, even if the class hours were a bit unorthodox. It was past 7 p.m. and fully dark outside.
You, on the other hand, will go down to the servants' quarters to see my manservant, Geoffrey. He will see that you are fed and will instruct you on tomorrow's itinerary. I am having a get-together and the girls must not be allowed to interrupt. This will be a bit of a test for you to see if you can handle the job.
I nodded my agreement, afraid to upset this man who suddenly was speaking with the stern authority of a lord or duke. Then I remembered that Count was technically a royal title. Forgot about that one. This man was someone who was used to getting what he wanted without bickering or any sort of disagreement. Putting my fears at having seen a disembodied hand running around minutes earlier, I told him I would go down to the servants' quarters immediately and find Geoffrey. He left me there in the upstairs hallway and vanished into the shadows. The glow of dim lamps hanging from wall sconces lit the corridor and I walked aimlessly, realising I had no idea where I was going. The place was like a maze. I tried to find a staircase going down and eventually spotted one. It was a spiral staircase made of stone that descended down a great distance. The air became moist and chilly by the time I got to the door at the bottom. I was realising that darkness was a bit of a theme in the manor by that point, as the wall sconces down this way were similarly murky and it was difficult to see in the light of them. I saw no sign of anyone, but the count had indicated Geoffrey was in the basement, so I assumed I was on the right track. Pushing open the door, I heard whispered voices and the squeak of rats. The space within appeared to be a dungeon. "Excuse me, what are you doing down here?" I jumped and my heart nearly stopped in my chest, all the hairs on my skin rising at once. My shock was so severe that I couldn't even scream. I hadn't heard anyone sneak up behind me. The man had been silent as a ghost. Turning around, I backed up into the door, closing it and shutting off the whispered voices rising to an urgent pitch. Sorry, I'm the new nanny, Jordan. How's it going?" I stuck up my hand. "Geoffrey," he said, ignoring my pleasantries, "you are not to be down here. This way. Follow me." The man was bold and heinous looking, his teeth pointed and sticking out of his mouth with a severe overbite. He wore a black wool trench coat over a three-piece suit with a red tie. Shuffling back up the staircase with a limp, he stopped and looked back at me impatiently. I was still standing in front of the door, unmoving. "See that you listen to me, or I'll tell the Count of your insolence. And he doesn't take kindly to disobedience. Make no mistake about that." His eyes shifted unconsciously to the door I had just opened a moment before. "I'm right behind you," I said, taking a step forward and up the stairs after him. "By the way, I have to ask, do you have any idea where I can get a decent bathroom around this place?" Don't forget, if you enjoyed that story, be sure to pop over to the author's Reddit profile and drop them a line, or even give them a glowing review. I'm sure they really would appreciate it. The link to their Reddit profile will be below in the description. Please be so kind as to throat punch the like button and smack the ass of the subscription button as well. And remember to tap the notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. Oh, and don't forget to share the video far and wide. This will all help with YouTube's algorithm and will help to promote this channel more. And don't forget to check out the merch store. The link will be in the description and also in the video thumbnail. And if you would like an honourable mention, send in a snapshot of yourself with your purchase and I'll feature it in one of the videos. I now have my very own subreddit community where you can submit any stories you've written. You can submit your stories or encounters either there or send them to cryptidsroost@gmail.com. If you wish to remain anonymous, that's fine with me. All the links are below. I also have a Facebook group, Twitter, Reddit, and you'll also find me on Discord. If you would like to support this channel and help make it grow, my PayPal is paypal.me/cryptidsroost. Again, that will also be below. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not.